What a beautiful quote by Thomas Merton. God cannot fill a heart that's already full. Dr. Ernest Holmes taught that we are here to be inlets and outlets for God. He said, energy finds an outlet through everything that lives. We give intelligence an outlet in two ways, by pure inspiration or bitter experience. We give intelligence an outlet by one of two ways, pure inspiration or bitter experience. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, we are inlets and might become outlets to divine nature, but Dr. Ernest Holmes went on to say that we are already these inlets and we must be conscious outlets. Become conscious outlets. I thought when I was creating the title and the Facebook event this week that some of you might think I was saying consciousness outlet, like you could get a free consciousness or a deal, a bargain shop deal on a consciousness. Sorry, there's no quick fix on consciousness. We have to do the work to expand our consciousness, to expand our idea of good, expand our idea of God, expand our idea of worthiness, of living, and of understanding that we are in partnership with this divine energy by whatever name that you give it. And so conscious outlets for divine good. That's what I'm talking about. So how do we create within ourselves an inlet and an outlet for this divine good, for this divine intelligence, divine love to flow through us in our lives? Because we know what doesn't flow stagnates. So we want to be that inlet and the outlet. The inlet and the outlet reminds me of, actually, as I was doing that, it reminds me of in the Sufi tradition, the whirling dervishes, they have one hand up, receiving in from the universe, receiving in God through them, in one hand pointed down, as in symbolically bringing it into the material. So how do we allow ourselves to be conduits, to be channels, vessels, whatever word you want to use, to be an instrument of divine good in the world, a conscious inlet and outlet? Well, first, to be that inlet, we have to lay down our defenses, right? We are so, even before COVID, much of the world was in this fight or fight, freeze or faint place, and armored up, right? Armored up. We're not in battle. Take your armor off. You're not in battle. You're not in battle, like the song that I sang. We're safe. Take a deep breath, put your hand on your heart and say, I'm safe. I'm safe inside my own skin. I mean that. Put your hand on your heart. Take a deep breath. I'm safe inside my own skin. We have to lay down our defenses and learn to trust ourselves and life and God, but really in the reverse order. Trust the divine, that it's a God that is good, that is everywhere present, that cares not what you call it. And then you'll be able to trust life a little more, that this divine presence is showing up in as in through life, in as in through you and me and everything. And then you can trust yourself a little more. But when we try to just pretend that we can trust without going into that acceptance of divine good, it's harder. Then we end up with bitter experience as our outlet experience. But we'll get to the outlet in a second. Okay, so being in that inlet, that conscious inlet, we have to lay down our armor, unlock, open up, right? Open. And then empty. This morning in the healing meditation, I enjoyed that so much. And if you missed it, you can go back and watch it later. But it was just a time to honor the fact that we've been through a lot in the last year. Many of us have lost loved ones. We've had, just such different things coming at us than we've ever imagined we would deal with in our lifetime, with a global pandemic and the separation that ensued with that from our loved ones. And so in the healing meditation, I was talking all about emptying, all about honoring it, honoring the pain, honoring the fear, the worry, the loss, honoring it as part of our journey, recognizing that we can honor it and not live in it all the time. We can honor it. And we can honor those that we love by laying the pain down and living in the example of love. And so this emptying is kind of a decluttering of the heart, right? I love that idea of going through the house, and if you see a book on the shelf that doesn't bring you joy, like, oh gosh, that person gave me that when they were trying to tell me I should do something better with my life. I mean, who knows? But if you see a book on the shelf, a picture on the wall, anything in your house that doesn't bring you joy, that doesn't feel like love to you, that doesn't bring back a memory that is good and uplifting, let it go. Well, the same is true with decluttering our heart and our minds. When you have these these things that we go through that are painful sometimes, let them go right on through. We feel them, we honor them, we release them. And it's a continual process. We feel them, we honor them, we release them. On Friday, I spoke for the Affiliated New Thought Network virtual retreat, and I talked all about making life welcome, right? Honoring everything that comes, but releasing it on, releasing what no longer serves, laying it down, surrendering into the power and presence within me that knows how I'm supposed to get on the other side of this grief or this pain or this loss or this fear or whatever. Surrendering into that which is within me, which is bigger than the personality of me, right? So letting it go, allowing yourself, allowing is the next piece actually. Allowing not just to release and to empty, but allowing a greater good. Can you believe in a bigger good than you already have? Can you believe in a bigger prosperity? Can you believe in a better idea of relationships? Can you believe in a greater degree of health? Allow yourself to expand into a bigger vision of your life. So being this inlet for the divine is taking it all in, taking in the good, releasing, taking in the good, taking in the good, taking in the good. Taking it all in, actually, and releasing what we don't want to amplify in our lives. And then to be that outlet requires trust. Like I said, of self, of life, of God, but in that reverse order of God, of life, of self, because that is where it amplifies. And so believing, trusting, opening, allowing, all of these things are required for us to be these outlets of divine good, of divine love, of divine intelligence. Belief. What do I mean by that? Believing that your life is not some series of accidents. Believing not that you are a victim to life, but that there is a conspiracy for your good. Believing that life is for you. Trusting in that. Trusting in that. And so therefore allowing life to flow through you, not clinging, because we know when we cling, we stagnate, right? Too many times we want to cling to our good. You remember the story, I'm sure you've heard about the monkey traps. In colonial times, if they wanted to trap a monkey, they would, poor little babies, but anyway, they would take a coconut and they would hollow out a hole in the top and fill it with rice. But the hole would just be enough for the monkey's hand to slide into the coconut. Once it grabbed the rice, it made a fist and it couldn't come back out. And the monkey would not let go. So how many things in our life are we clinging to? Not being an outlet for good because we're clinging to the good that was yesterday's good, a past good, instead of believing in an even better tomorrow, releasing our good for our better, I like to say. So instead of clinging, we have to be open, again, open for it to come in and open for it to release out into our life, trusting there's no lack. There's no lack in love. There's no lack in money. There's no lack in health. There's no lack. Lack is an idea that we can release when we're doing that decluttering of the heart. And so to be this outlet, we also want to allow, again, we allow the flow in, but we need to allow the how. Allow the how of whatever it is you're working on to be taken care of. I always tell people that all the universe needs is a little bit of willingness on your part. Just being willing to believe that something's possible can make it so. Just being willing to forgive, willing to embrace a greater degree of living, willing, and then allow the how to unfold. And then, of course, to be this outlet for God, well, we treat, which is our word for affirmative prayer, but we also move our feet. We act, take action. When we have these divine ideas, we are all, I heard it said in a reading, I can't remember, probably Science in My magazine, I'm not sure, but I read something this past week that said that we're swimming in a sea of creative particles floating around us looking for a home. And if you don't allow them to flow through you, it says, no problem, I'll find someone else, right? So we take action on the things that we want to create in our world, because when it's an inspiration, it's going to flow through us as an inspired act, or if we don't act on it, it's going to flow through us sometimes as a bitter experience. So taking action, but realizing that doesn't mean we have to run around and be frantic in our lives. I loved the reading that Linda Buckle shared about the turtle. And just moving at your own pace, turtle. As long as you keep going forward, turtle, just keep going forward. Not clinging, You are complete. Take it all in and move at your own pace, she said. Turtle in its own flow, right? So taking action doesn't mean you have to go out and fix everything you want to change in your life right now, today. Go and write that book and go and lose the 20 pounds today and go and find the mate today and do all the things. No, it means doing the next right thing, but doing something. Do the next right thing, but do something. Every single day we want to be in a continual motion with life because life is in a continual motion. So we want to be in that continual motion with life instead of holding on to the past good that we had, afraid it won't be any better. I remember being in an Al-Anon room years ago, and I literally heard a woman say, well, at least he doesn't beat me. The bar was so low. This man treated her terribly, but at least he wasn't as bad as the one before who beat her. Thank God. But at the same time, my heart ached for her because I wanted her bar to be up here because I could see the beauty that she was. I could see the joy and the gift and the love and how funny and beautiful, right? I could see her bar needed to be way up here for someone that would see that in her. But she was like, well, at least this one doesn't beat me, right? We don't need to hold on to what we considered good yesterday because life is ever evolving and ever changing and ever growing. We have that opportunity to be ever evolving, ever changing, ever growing too, instead of trying to cling to something that feels safe outside of us, not remembering that we're safe inside of us. We are safe. Let's breathe that in again. I'm safe to be exactly as I am, to, as Maitri said, to befriend who I already am. Let's befriend who we already are, just as we are. That act of Maitri, of loving kindness and loving friendship for oneself and for others. Let's be that as we go on this journey of being inlets and outlets, being in the flow with life. Let us do it from a place of loving kindness with ourselves and with others. Recognizing not to beat ourselves up when, like I talked about last week, when the COVID, I think it was last week, I don't know, when the COVID-10 might happen, right? Like instead of the freshman 15, and they've been talking about the COVID-15, where people have gained a little bit of weight. And yet, it's okay. It's okay. Love yourself right where you are, exactly as you are. And recognize that energy is continually coming. As energy goes into our bodies, what's that? Food, right? If energy doesn't also come out of our bodies, what's that? Movement. then there's going to be weight gain. So maybe we haven't moved as much. I know I haven't moved as much in the last, well, that's not true. I've moved a lot. We've been hiking a lot. But I've also found some times of being sedentary as well and trying to balance that out. So because I recognize that as we move, the energy flows through our bodies. The same is true with divine intelligence. We move with life, giving that outlet in the form of creative expression, in the form of connections, in the form of loving communication, in the form of creating the next thing for our lives, allowing life to get better and better. When we think about energy, though, what comes in needs to come out. Let's be conscious of how we're exerting our energy. Be conscious that if we try and contain a river, it bursts its banks, right? We want to be in that flow with life. I was thinking about the exercise thing and how endorphins are released in our bodies, which causes us to feel like we have more energy. It's, people talk about the runner's high. I have no experience with that because in college they tried to tell me, just keep going in preseason training. Just keep going. You'll hit the runner's high. Honey, I never found that runner's high. That's not my thing. But I'm sure it's there. I trust that, people like my friends Jeff and Anne-Marie and Jack, people who run these long miles, I'm sure they've experienced the runner's high, so I'm not doubting it. But the point is, there are endorphins that are released that give us more energy when we exert energy. But what happens when you're tired, when you're fatigued, when you've been sedentary? You don't want to move. So it's like this catch-22. You keep finding yourself too tired to move, but knowing that if you moved, you wouldn't be as tired. In other words, it's the last thing we want to do when we feel fatigued is to get out and exercise, but it's the first thing we need to do. And I thought about that because it's also true on our spiritual journey that The last thing we sometimes want to do is think about being conscious inlets and outlets. The last thing that we sometimes want to do is to do our spiritual work of spiritual mind treatment, where we recognize there's one power, there's one presence. It's in all and through all, and therefore it's in, as, and through me. That's steps 1 and 2, by the way, in case you're keeping up. And then step 3, we claim what it is we want for our life, for our experience. We say it in an affirmative way as if it's already so, convincing ourselves and then being faithful to that assumption that it already is. And in gratitude, step 4, we say, thank you, God, for the good. And we release the how of it and allow it to be so. And yet, much like when we need to exercise, we don't want to exercise. When we need that treatment, that remembering, realigning, renewing of our thought, we sometimes want to push it away. So I'm calling that out, to bring it back to the forefront of your mind, to use the tools that you have: prayer, meditation, nature, surrounding yourselves with people that lift you up. All of these things help you to open, empty, allow, believe, trust, act, be an inlet and an outlet, a conscious outlet for the divine. Knowing that we don't want to just keep filling our cup with stuff. We want to consciously fill our cups. God cannot fill a full cup. Well, we want to continually empty, so that we can continually be refilled and renewed, refilled and renewed, refilled and renewed. So release what no longer serves. Ideas, beliefs of being less than. Ideas, beliefs that you'll never be happy. Ideas, beliefs that you can't trust life. Ideas or beliefs that there's nothing out there. You live, you die, that's it, it's gone. And to entertain the idea that there is a creative source. Call it God, call it spirit, call it universe, call it whatever you want. But this energy that is bigger than us, that created us and is moving through us. Let go of an idea that you're separate, that you are alone, because you're not. You are so cherished, you are so loved, and you are so connected inseparably from your God, your good. And we have the opportunity each and every day to remember that energy finds an outlet for everything that lives. So let that divine energy find an outlet as our inspiration. As we act in inspired ways, we speak in loving ways, we move in peaceful ways. It's all about being conscious and recognizing there's no bargain bin shopping for the outlet consciousness. I just cracked myself up on that. But realizing that we want to move through life awake, aware, and engaged. Thank you, God, for the good in my life. I want to live that with me. Thank you, God. And so it is.